And then, based on your research and this polling, what is your message to either former President Trump about how he speaks to female voters or Vice President Harris in terms of how she appeals to male voters?
Yeah, well, I think this is a whole other problem. Is our political parties have polarized, I think, to the point where uh, to help women, it seems to be coded as Democrat or liberal, and to help men is coded as Republican or conservative. In the same survey that we did, that we looked at some of these gender differences that I earlier mentioned, we asked this question whether American society is doing enough to help boys become successful adults, and to the extent that we need to do more to help girls become successful adults. And Trump voters are far more likely to say that we should help boys and not girls, and Harris voters are somewhat more likely to say that we should help girls and not boys. And I think that's part of the problem, right? That the rhetoric needs to reflect that both young men and young women have challenges they have in their life. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're distinct because they're men or women, and we need to have a conversation that reflects that and is sensitive to that we can help men without excluding girls, and we can young women and girls, and we can help girls and young women without excluding men.
Do you fear that November's election could worsen the political divide among men and women? If 2016 was an inflection point that kind of helped catalyze this divide, could 2024 worsen it?
I mean, I hope not, but that's certainly a possibility. In a close election, every group of voters is going to be pivotal. And one thing I worry about is if we do see this divergence in voting among young people, with young women voting strongly for Harris and young men leaning more towards supporting Trump, that there could be the blowback if Trump wins from a lot of young women who really despise the former president, could be significant. And it again, Trump is an incredibly polarizing figure when it comes to gender, given his history, given his rhetoric, that I think you could see, if that's the outcome, there could be an exacerbation of the gender divide.
We've covered a lot of ground, Daniel, but is there anything else we should know about your research and your polling on American society and the gender divide in the run-up to the election, which is less than a month away at this point?
I think the one thing I would note is that we're talking a lot about politics in general. Obviously, we're weeks out from a really critical election. But when you think about the gender divide, it's much more about politics. It's as much about relations and relationships. And that is something that I think, is going to have really considerable societal impact down the road when you think about marriage rates and the birth rates. I mean, that's all going to be impacted on the extent to which men and women can get along.
Daniel Cox, director of the Survey Center on American Life, thank you so much for joining us and breaking down your research findings. I hope you'll come back because this is an endlessly important and interesting topic.
Thanks for having me.